My favorite Galactus. All right, welcome to episode 181 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again is my Fantastic Four group here. We have our invisible woman of Chris.
Hi.
Because you can't see him. That's the joke. And I was trying to decide for the other ones of who to do who, so I'm going to go with Mr. Fantastic being Steven.
Good day.
Chase is the Thing.
Squadron time.
And my wife says I'm hot, so I guess I will be the Human Torch. That was corny as hell. All right. That was a
First
bad
step.
joke. Yeah. Good movie. Terrible joke. All right. So it has been an interesting week. We're actually in the middle of San Diego Comic-Con, so we're going to have a lot of comic book news to talk about today. A lot of stuff about how credit card people are trying to determine what you can and cannot play on consoles, and a bunch of other announcements. But before that, we're going to jump into what we've been doing. So, Chris, you haven't been here in a while, and I can't see what in the world you're doing, so I'm going to call you out now and ask what you've been doing.
Oh.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, I've just been getting back into the older stuff. I'm saving up to buy a Switch 2, so I'm just playing a lot of the older Switch 1 games just in case they don't work. I'm playing Balatro, playing Persona 5 Royal, and I'm playing Sonic Origins.
I can tell you all three of those work.
Oh, well, there you go.
Balatro actually goes faster. It's kind of funny.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, my OLED has pretty much become just a Balatro machine. I just leave it on there so I can just pick it up and play it when I want to.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah, it's been kind of nice. That game is incredibly addictive. All right. Steven, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I decided to pick up ZZZ, give it a try.
Oh, nice. That's a change up.
Good. But actually, no, I finished another storyline, and now they're opening more mini games in it. Now there's a mini game where you can kind of do target shooting, and then there's a wave race mode where you get to ride on motorized surfboards. So they keep coming up with new stuff to do if you're tired of just fighting.
Nice.
I watched one of my streamers, Max, go further in Expedition 33. I got the itch again, and I said I'm going to destroy that game properly. Went back in, had to look up a build because I really had to go deep into those Pictos. But I went to every area now. I've gotten every item. I've defeated every boss. I've completed everything I could of that game. The only last achievement is I have to get everybody up to level 99. So I have to grind just for an achievement. But because it's the last achievement, I might as well.
Fair enough.
Because, yeah, I just bought the 8 CD deluxe soundtrack for that, which I was so happy that they came out with. So I was like, sweet.
You can never make fun of me for getting every achievement in Persona 5 again.
I can make fun of you for how many times you've beaten it. So there.
Well, let's see how many times you beat Expedition 33. You'll be back.
After the Pokemon Presents, I did try out Pokemon Friends for mobile because it's free. It's not $10 like it is on Switch. I can say unless you have somebody who just loves Pokemon and wants to learn simple puzzles, they do get harder, but not like brain-scratchingly hard. It's just eventually you just figure it out and you get plushes of Pokemon. Fairly simple, no big deal. But I was like, oh, it's something you can only play certain puzzles each day, so it's one of those just like enrichment type games.
Gotcha.
And lastly, I'm trying, but I'm falling out of favor with Shadow Labyrinth for the only one reason is their checkpoint system. I know in Souls games it makes sense for where you are to before a boss fight or different zones. This game doesn't do that. This game, when you go to a different zone and you want to go back because there's a shop you needed to buy some abilities from, you can't just teleport back to that other zone like you could in other games where you can fast travel. You can fast travel only within the zone you are in. So you have to work your way all the way to the new zone again. And for some reason, they decide when you go to a new zone, we're not going to give you a checkpoint for a while. there's two types of places you can get. There's a checkpoint place, and then there's a save checkpoint, and you can choose to respawn from either one when you die. But even though I've unlocked the checkpoint for the new mode, area, if I die in the old area, I can only respawn in the old area. So it's just like punishing me a lot in the wrong way. Like, I don't care if I keep dying by a boss, but sending me so far back, I was just like, this isn't like, even Ninja Gaiden wasn't this cruel. It's like, come on. So I'll get there, but
That's what I liked about what Prince of Persia, the recent one, did so well for that is you could die, and if you're like on a boss fight, you just start back at the boss fight. It doesn't make you go all the way. You can just kind of start from there, or you can orientate back. So gives you, we've defeated
I'm
this
just
problem.
hoping it's maybe an oversight in the beginning, but it's quite the hurdle right now.
Ugh, that sucks. I picked up my copy. I just haven't played it yet, so I'm worried now. All right, Chase, what about you? What you been doing?
A little bit here and there. Recently had a little bit of a spending spree. Bought Star Wars Outlaws limited edition.
I'm curious to see what your thoughts on that one are.
Also bought the launch edition of Company of Heroes 3. We have a store, we have an online store here that's basically like kind of the New Zealand Australian version of Amazon called Mighty Ape, and they I don't know if it's just they had extra stock and it just sat there for a while, but I was able to snag both of them for under $25, which was pretty good.
That's awesome.
New Zealand, that's like $5 here.
Right.
I know. That's pretty good.
They make currency under 25? What?
Yeah. And then as far as games played, I did actually play Company Heroes 3. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
It's a really fun game, and one of the nice things that I can report on is if you want to play the game on console, you can play with keyboard and mouse. So it has that functionality, which is nice.
I'm sure.
But
I know that makes you happy.
Oh, it does. But the other game that I played, and Lord help me with this pronunciation.
Yep.
The Dungeon of Nahulbuk, the Amulet of Chaos. It's actually I don't know if it's on sale over in your guys' region, but
it has been.
Yeah, PlayStation Store had it on sale here in New Zealand for like $8 New Zealand. So I was like, oh yeah, $8. Like,
This is the comedy one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's got like the graphic style is kind of cel shaded, like sort of kind of cartoony-esque in a way, but like it's a turn-based tactics game with like RPG elements, but it is the voice acting is great. Like there's a couple characters in your party that take the piss out of each other all the time, and they happen to be an elf and a dwarf, so that whole rivalry is continued. Like,
it's almost cliched at this point for a reason.
There was a point in the game where we were talking to this person, and he said, well, I'll join your party for this mission or whatever, and the elf didn't like him, was like, oh, he's so annoying, like, can we not take him please? And then dwarf's like, you're in, welcome to the team. Like, it was it's the voice acting's great. I'm enjoying it. If you can snag it on sale, it's actually quite a fun game to play.
Is it just on PlayStation or is it on anything else?
It's on Switch.
I think it's on Switch. I don't know if it's on Xbox, but
nothing's on Xbox.
Yeah, let's say Microsoft's not even on Xbox at this point.
Everything's on Xbox.
Oh yeah, this is an Xbox.
Yeah, this is an Xbox.
That's all I have is this tiny arcade machine. All right,
that's an Xbox.
That's an Xbox. Yeah, it's just a single button. Just all right. So I'll go ahead and jump into what I've been doing. Still been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. I've been really, really enjoying that. Got down to, I think, like level 800 just a little bit ago before the show when I was last playing it. Still loving how that game actually looks. I'm still having fun playing it. Digging through to collect things. It's becoming a little bit more of a challenge as there's different environments and seeing more stuff. And I'm happy that someone told me, like, yeah, there's still so much more afterwards to play. So it's a big game. So been having a lot of fun with that. I finally found the character you're supposed to talk to for the amiibo. So I will try that again later to actually get the little dress you're supposed to get for Pauline. And that way I can, whatever that's
Plus, if
supposed
you
to
play
do.
2 players, I've watched videos. That game is overpowered with a second player who's a kid because they go nuts, and you're just like,
Yeah, I'm going to try it with Jen and see what happens. I don't know if I'll probably let her do the shooting, and I'll just be the one running around. And it's going
running
to be
around. she's gonna make a crater where you stand.
Yeah, I guarantee that's going to happen. The next thing is last night I went and saw Fantastic Four First Steps, and that's part of why I had the creature and my Galactus out. I think I did like Superman a little bit more, but it was still a really good movie, both for Fantastic Four and just comic books in general. And even with that debate, if you have to choose one or the other, we still got 2 absolutely phenomenal movies this month. Fantastic Four First Steps takes place in like a pseudo futuristic 1960s, and they really play into the details of that. And there are comic book references to old Fantastic Four stuff everywhere.
Supposedly it starts the new phase too.
Yeah, it starts phase 6. That's why they changed the title card. They don't do the little Marvel with the comics flipping in anymore. That ended with this one. And they had some interesting stuff for the after credits. There are still questions up in the air as we usually go, but even outside of those, the movie is very self-contained, which is nice. But they got Galactus right. Like his scale, the way they filmed him, the way he interacted with everything is just perfectly done. All the nice little details I've kind of grown up seeing with Galactus were in there. Shalabal as the Silver Surfer was really well done. They didn't just kind of like do a gender swap or have that version of her in there. It was tied in with a lot of the stuff, which was really nice. This is probably one of my favorite versions of Ben Grimm. Not only for how
Did you
he
get
looked.
to find out exactly what time is clobbering time?
The scene for that was hilarious.
Okay.
And I do love Ben and Johnny's just picking on each other. Like they stick with that whole thing. Like they'll protect each other and so forth, but they're constantly messing with each other, which is how it should be for anyone that has grown up reading the Fantastic Four. I like the fact that Sue is more of a leader than Reed is, because Reed is all of his intelligence. He just doesn't know how to emote for a lot of these things. So they've kind of, and this has happened in the comics as well, where Sue is taken on more of a leadership role, and they really do push that more in a really nice way. The way they do their powers is both a little bit more limited than I expected them to do, but also much more well thought out, especially Sue's, for how they do invisibility and other things is very creative. I hadn't seen prior. So yeah, highly recommend it. Go and watch it. It's definitely one I'll be picking up whenever it comes out physically, so we can watch it at the house. There
is a video out there where they did show off their Marvel rival characters to them.
I haven't seen
and
that.
They showed the Invisible Woman, and they showed her like evil skin.
Uh-huh.
Even Pedro Pascal was like, "Get the costume designer. Let's do this for the next movie."
I can imagine that. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this and to how it ties in with other stuff. But this is kind of also, this has done something Superman did as well that I really like, where they're not trying to push and make you watch an origin story. They're just dropping you in after they've been doing stuff for a while. So you immediately are just right into the middle of it. Superman was a little more important because it did that beginning kind of the new DCU for the movies. But Fantastic Four, I think, was really nice. Like they don't sit there and try and exposition about all the differences in the worlds. It's just, okay, here's the world they're living in it, how they interact, and what you happen to catch just flows. You just get it. Herbie was hilarious. That robot used to be so stupid and annoying back when I was a kid, but I really like the way they did this one. It fits better, even though he was introduced in the original 60s cartoon. It's nice that they actually brought him in, logically with this. Still shocked they actually have a model of that robot running around and doing stuff at Disneyland. Like, I'm so shocked at the engineering that took Like, it's really nice. So I kind of want to see that. All right, let's jump over to our group chat real quick for a couple of games to talk about. So we played these a little bit last week. It was kind of a shorter night because I was really tired and ended up falling asleep, and then we've been busy all week. But State of Decay 2, we're still continuing that as usual. Working through all of our stuff in there. Did you guys have any additions to that? What?
Yeah, apparently Jeremy's starting a dealership.
I keep getting cars.
Where even Chase said we got all the cars in the world and we keep taking the Google car with us.
It's fuel
It's got,
efficient.
quote, good gas mileage, not because it's safe.
Oh, it's not safe. I've almost wrecked that thing. Actually,
The game wrecked it for you.
Yeah, we got in the car to go and try and find out what was up with Steven because you were sitting under a tree. Something happened and you couldn't talk to us or hear us. Chase and I are like, is he still here? What's going on? I hop in the car. I start going forward. The car halfway clips into the ground, starts shaking violently and getting damaged and just bursts into flame. And I'm like, eject. Like, please let me out of the car. It's like, I don't need another person to die stupidly 2 nights in a row. I made it out alive. It's okay.
Yeah, Chris, I know you probably listened to the last episode, but yeah, his first one went MIA due to an airstrike on himself.
It was stupid, and I love it. It's such a great way to die. Death by self-owned via airstrike. You just don't hear that very often. So we'll see who dies next. I think I'm out of the 3 of us with our playthroughs. I think I'm the first one to lose somebody while we're playing.
Oh no, I lost my black guy.
How did he? Was this like zombies or?
Yeah, I got overzealous getting rid of a heart and I died.
You don't say.
I didn't have the FBI gun, so I was like, bye bye.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I guess that was while we were playing together.
It just wasn't as spectacular as your death. So it's just like, I made a mistake. I'm dead. Bye.
Oh, I made a mistake. I almost took all of us out. Thankfully, it wasn't a team kill. That would have been terrible. Oh, man. Beyond that, we did start playing some co-op Zombie Army 4. We only played through, about a first level. But, usual fun. They've changed it up for the bullet kills whenever you're actually playing multiplayer. Like, it still shows them, but they're super quick.
Which I'm fine because they were even though you put them on often, they were few and far between in the trilogy unless you shot a bottle. Because we didn't get to see the true bullet cam unless you shot a bottle. I kind of like this one. It feels more arcade-ish, but not too much.
Yeah.
And of course, the environmental kills are definitely a plus. I just feel like everything hits better now. While the first one almost played maybe too simple, like the second Sniper Elite where everything was still being worked on. But this one, everything's fleshed out and nice.
Yeah, because Zombie Army Trilogy was, I think, based on their older tech, like you said, from Sniper Elite 2 and things like that. So they just kind of took that cheaper engine, built these games out because they were originally digital titles only.
And they definitely reused the voice because the main character from the Sniper Elite series, minus Resistance, is one of the characters. I was like, I cannot mistake that bass voice at all.
Yeah, you guys play those more than me. That's why, picking up Sniper Elite, I ended up getting the Switch version to add onto there. So who knows? We'll probably end up playing that some more tonight if we don't decide to try not to kill one of us in State of Decay 2 or see what else we got going on. So, all right. You guys ready to talk some credit card news?
Jinkies.
There you go. All right. So this is going to be a fun one. Credit card companies have started pushing their ideals on what consumers can pay for and what digital storefronts are allowed to sell. So game sites like itch.io have de-indexed adult content, so there's no longer visible or searchable on their site, with some adult games permanently removed outright. I couldn't find anything on whether or not people got refunds back, but a lot of people were saying they just lost their games they paid for and they were gone. So Leaf Corcoran the itch.io creator, released a statement. It's a little bit long, but it kind of covered some interesting stuff I wanted to talk about. So, quote, he said, recently we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some content hosted on itch.io. Due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April, the organization Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch.io directing concerns to our payment processors about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. Our ability to process payments is critical for every creator on our platform. To ensure that we continue to operate and provide a marketplace for all developers, we must prioritize our relationship with our payment partners and take immediate steps towards compliance. This is a time-critical moment for itch.io. The situation developed rapidly, and we had to act urgently to protect the platform's core payment infrastructure. Unfortunately, this meant that it was not realistic to provide creators with advance notice before making this change. We know this is not ideal, and we apologize for the abruptness of this change. We are currently conducting a comprehensive audit of content to ensure we can meet the requirements of our payment processors. Pages will remain de-indexed as we complete a review. Once this review is complete, we will introduce new compliance measures for NSFW pages, or not safe for work. This will include a new step where creators must confirm that their content is allowable under the policies of respective payment processors linked to their account. Oh, it's a freaking mouthful of a bunch of BS. Steven, go ahead.
I do want to mention de-indexed is bullshit because it's, as Chris and I have pointed out, it's even disappeared off of our purchases. So when we got one of those bundles that went to charities and stuff, suddenly one of them is not there. Or a bunch of them aren't there. Last week, this is reported by Stephen Totillo. He said last week there were 7,000 games marked as NSFW on the marketplace. Today there's 2.
Holy shit.
And he said there is a tag they use, NSFW category as well as a tag. The category had nearly 28,000 games in it earlier this month. It now has 6,000. So, jeez, it's quite a, they're not de-indexing a certain number of games. They're taking out a chunk.
Yeah. Like I said, my concern was just the fact of who gets to make these decisions and how are they making them? Because they're not really judging, the games based on their merit or their story or what the context is for them.
Unfortunately, it's probably the same thing that wrote this PR statement. It's probably ChatGPT or AI.
More than likely. Well, the group he was talking about, Collective Shout, is apparently a group over in Australia that pushes a lot of their stuff, and they're going worldwide trying to get certain titles banned and so forth. But we've had, we talked a little bit about this last week with the eShop on Nintendo's changes, because I was kind of concerned, like, hey, who's going to make these determinations? And this is kind of an overflow from that. But it's not the first time this has happened. Nier Automata director Yoko Taro called this censorship a security hole that endangers democracy itself. But this wasn't a recent quote. This was actually from last November, when Manga Library Z's online repository for digital downloads of out-of-print manga was forced to shut down, with the group blaming international credit card companies by demanding that certain words had to be edited from the adult manga they had. So they had to determine what content on these books were allowed, even down to what was written on them and what had to be edited out. And this was supposed to be a repository to preserve these things. I mean, could you imagine, these may not be Shakespeare, but to somebody, these are books they want. But if, somebody tried to take the works of Shakespeare and ban particular words from it and remove them from history, people should be rightfully pissed. And, it's kind of taking the context of saying, well, this, subset of content we think goes too far, but then using that as as a false flag argument to go after a whole bunch of other stuff that you find questionable beyond, while trying to make the worst of it your visual argument to try and get people to agree with you. Does that make sense? Nope. No one's saying a thing. All right.
Clear as mud.
Yeah. So basically they're pointing at the worst situation and using that to drum up agreement, or try and, if you fight against this, you're agreeing with this stuff, even though you're trying to protect the First Amendment right or creative rights for a lot of this other stuff. outside of the questionable ones,
It's,
which
it just reminds
Well,
me
that's just
kind of like the ESRB,
Mhm.
where they get their ratings by basically this board is shown. I don't know who puts it together, but they're shown the worst possible scenes in the game,
yeah, the
and
companies are
that's how
supposed
they
to do that.
and that's how they do the rating. And then when you read the ESRB description, it'll be like, "Oh, this character says shit and cunt once." Like, so it gets a mature rating, and you're like, "That's the worst this game has."
Mhm.
Or you
What,
see bare buttocks. Oh no, mature.
what were you going to say, Chase?
oh, that's always been like I was just gonna say that's always kind of been like the tactic, so to speak, of when you're trying to like make your argument about something. Is there's a lot of times, because I've had this same argument with Shino and other people, where they'll like take this thing that happens and maybe it's representative of like 1% of like, issues or whatever,
Mhm.
stuff like that, and then like it's like, okay, well, are you gonna let that 1% be indicative of the rest, so to
And
speak?
that happens a lot. Yes,
Yeah, it
I've
does.
seen ones where 12 people can complain about something, so it gets removed, but 27,000 people don't want it removed. But those 12 people have the power to get it removed,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot with book bannings and
they're
stuff
just
too.
customers like you and I. But they might not even watch it at all. They're just being white knighting, which I hate.
Yeah.
Well, recently the push from these credit card companies have forced removal of games from Steam and itch.io with adult themes that we talked about earlier. Steam went so far as to update their rules and guidelines for publishers to add a very vague and open to change on a whim rule. And so the actual rule they added is number 15. I went and looked up the documentation for it. It says content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particular, certain kinds of adult only content. So these are things that you have to actually take into consideration what these people want, not just what Steam allows, but what this separate group demands that they think is okay. And that's a very arbitrary thing that can change. There's no set structure or allowment. We've got things like the MPAA for movies that try and be a little bit more clear. Like you can say fuck this many times and you get this rating. Prefer it's has to be in the later half of the movie. That's how Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got away with the first fuck in a Marvel movie, was because it was just after the halfway mark and it just happened to be really funny and they ended up leaving it in, and that was their allowed under the rating. So it kind of changes for that. NTU Game Center chair Naomi Clark, in an interview with 404 Media, stated that some of the games that have been caught up in the last day's changes on Itchy are games that up and coming creators have made about their own experiences in abusive relationships, or dealing with trauma, or coming out of the closet and finding their first romance as an LGBTQ person. So this is getting to that whole thing, just like here in America, with people pushing for book bans, that if anything deals with homosexuality or anything outside of what they would call heteronormative or any of that, as being somehow automatically determined as adult orientated or sexual content, instead of just being a story that people are trying to tell. They're marking these games as what they are, but they're wanting them gone because they don't agree with that. And that's a really slippery slope that could go very bad very fast. And it's not even been used in the same way, because you've got certain titles that were removed because of incest and things like that are part of their stories that happens. But then like Game of Thrones, they haven't said a thing, and that happens a lot in that series. When I watched it, and I was like, what the hell? But that apparently is fine. That's gotten a pass. They're not restricting any of that. But anyone else telling a story that includes something like that, they are. It's kind of a weird thing for how that ends up going. But then some of these groups pressing the credit card companies to push for this, like the one I mentioned before, are also pushing to try and get games like Grand Theft Auto and Detroit Become Human and other titles banned. Not just in Australia, but in every other country that they can with the same way. So my concern is like, how far is this push going to go? Like, how much are they going to demand if they agree to remove all these titles because they can hold the payment over their heads? Where does that line stop? Do you guys have any thoughts on that, or? Go for it, Chase.
Well, so actually, I just kind of looked up. So that Collective Shout, because I've heard the name before, but Collective Shout is a company it's a grassroots organization, as they call themselves, that is all about getting rid of the sexualization of women. Like they don't. So that's what it's kind of like I guess like a feminist organization that.
And their logo looks like a butthole.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's but yeah, this is quite interesting because I remember back in was it the late 2000s, early 2010s? It used to be, I remember back when, people were pushing companies to give their opinions on social issues, and the companies used to always give the same corpo speak of, we don't have an opinion on this. All we're worried about is providing a good product for, our consumers, blah, blah,
right.
blah. And people came out then and said, if you're not on our side, that means you're against them. Silence is against us type thing and all this bullshit. And I said, and like back then I was like, yeah, you need to be careful with that, because if you all of a sudden are going to allow companies to come in and like give their opinions on things and dictate how things, go, they're not beholden to your ideals. So the minute that it doesn't behoove them to support your ideals, they will flop almost immediately. And then it's not going to be fun when the shoe's on the other foot. And this whole thing too, I kind of feel like was it the James Franco meme where he's like, first time or whatever? Because
right.
So I'm not going to necessarily try to get like uber political, so I apologize in advance. Fine. But I'm a gun owner back in the States. I own quite a few guns. I'm a gun enthusiast. I'm a collector. I really enjoy them for what they are. And they're a tool that you can have fun with and do things with. And, doesn't necessarily mean that I need to go out and kill people. Shocking theory, I know, for some people. But this has already been happening with the firearms community for a while. There was a while there where like American Express and quite a few card companies were trying to make it to where they wouldn't process your payment if you sold guns, like at gun stores and stuff. And so like this hasn't been new. Like banks have been, like there was stories I heard a while, like ages back, about debanking, people getting debanked because of their viewpoint on a certain issue. I know in Canada they were freezing people's bank accounts, because they were giving GoFundMe money to truck drivers. It's like, well, it's their money. Like, can you really like tell people what they can or can't do with their money? But unfortunately I think the problem is if you control the money, you kind of control the power too.
Yeah, I think that becomes part of the issues, because like I'm sure that they do have games that are legally dubious, and they will look into those and whatever based on the law, because it's not just the fact that they're wanting it worldwide for this. It's just different areas allow for different things, and that's not being taken into account either, whether you agree with it or not. And I'm not trying to make a moral judgment on any of this stuff. Go ahead, Stephen.
So my opinion is kind of like what you touched on. One of the bullet points was not applying it to everyone. So like some companies get a pass because maybe they're going to be harder to fight, legally than these smaller creators. So it's easy to tell somebody who's just starting up, you're closed, and it's easier to close a mom and pop shop than it is to close Walmart's. So it's just like, we won't go after them. They're too much trouble, too much red tape. We'll go for the easy targets. And that's unfortunate because it's just doing like a blanket statement. And what always makes me mad about different censorship is they a lot of times they will just give you the worst possible scenario. And with any hot button issue that has come up and been affected through politics and everything else, always has to deal with somebody just giving the worst possible scenario that has never happened. So it comes along with all the way back to Looney Tunes when they would stop showing certain characters from Speedy Gonzales, or they would stop showing certain scenes like a bowling ball hitting themselves on the head and stuff like that and censor it. And I was just like, I bet like 3 people complained, and they were like, well, those 3 people, they might have something there. So we're just going to save ourselves the time and just say no to all of it. And, because overall it comes down to who's making the decision. And when there isn't even any kind of transparency of how this is being decided, they're just saying, like you said with Valve, even giving you something vague. It's just like, you need to be more involved in what you're doing, and be explicit to what you're looking for. That does it come across as something that is actually harmful? Does it come across something that you should just age gate or have done a certain way, with like even a warning in the beginning, which even Expedition 33 gives you a warning in the beginning that it's going to have some dark themes, so be prepared.
No kidding.
So
oh my god.
It's stuff like that. Instead of removing stuff for content, I think you should CYA by just giving your blanket statement of saying this is either a product of a time, or say this will depict this, like, because you can only fit so much on that little stupid ESRB box, and nobody reads the ESRB descriptions unless they're laughing at them half the time. Nobody wants to read that TLDR, just giant fucking wall of text when a new game comes out or anything like that. So by having it just, warn you in the beginning, it's a little better. But they're just not doing this. They're just saying, what do you mean we're going to have a money stream cut off? So the easiest way to do that is to just bow down to them, which is horrible. Because again, like, who made the decision over at MasterCard? Who made the decision over at Visa to just be like, we don't want to do this anymore? I will say to any people who are personally affected by this, either game developers, artists, what have you, especially with their cracking down in the UK, wanting you to prove your age. And it's gotten to the point where if you don't want to give your driver's license, they want a face scan, and they might not believe your age with your face scan. So people have been like, well, how else am I supposed to prove it? Should I just post pictures of Gone with the Wind saying this is my favorite movie from when I was a kid? Like, what are you supposed to do? And then other people have found out that by using the Death Stranding 2 photo mode, they've been fooling it into thinking you're old, which I thought was tremendous to hear. That I was like, good. Death Stranding 2 is good for something. So I thought that was hilarious. But I will say, if you're personally affected, there is resources online. There are plenty of people who have done the legwork, so you can kind of be part of that. I wouldn't say just resistance, but just part of that answer to this. There is scripts out there. There's phone numbers to call for customer service of MasterCard and Visa. I recommend, if you are going to combat this, that you only call them, because if you email them, they're eventually just going to filter out certain words and just make it so they won't see your emails. But it costs them money to call them. So just like a lot of people say you should always call your congressman to fight back, you should call these payment processors saying, like, I'm a customer, I don't like what's going on here, or I'm directly affected, I'm a business, and I don't like this.
If you write a notarized letter as well, they have to open it. So that takes time as well. So that has to be physical and notarized.
Ooh, that's a good little addition there, Chris. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I just, my big worry is, as we've all kind of pointed out, is going towards who gets to make these decisions and how that affects everybody. Because, like, okay, Steam has the rules for their store, just like itch.io has, because it is their store. They get to decide what content is on there, what they sell, and they have to follow for each area the legal rights or the law, the legal precedents of content for these things. But this is a group reaching outside of that, outside of whatever border they're in, affecting different countries for what's allowed in certain places or not in others, or what is taboo in one place and not somewhere else, and deciding what their art should be, and pretty much censoring other people's stuff for that. Because I hate that they're trying to use the argument of, like you said, Stephen, here's the worst case scenario game that we found. We're going to just blanket that to all of them. You know, it's like with adult movies. Okay, people make that assumption and they think, oh, it must be porn. Well, adult themed movies can deal with loss of a family member, death of a child, you know, some kind of drug addiction or trauma or some major event happening. And all of those I've seen done well in games where people are having to deal with these types of things and, you know, those consequences of what happens. Even something like, Stephen, when you and I played through A Way Out, of, you know, the twists and turns in that and the beatings and all the other stuff, that is a mature adult style of game that covers a lot of things outside of that, you know, from legal and all that. And that could get wrapped up in something like this and be said, hey, you can't do that because that's what's in there, even though it tells a very compelling and very emotional story.
I just hate that whole, but it could happen, because I'm going to get only slightly political, but there are some people out there who are in power, in a certain house, that have said, well, you know, basically, it's like somebody can be birthing the baby and it's halfway out, and they could decide they don't want it and they can abort it right there, and like 110% of the medical field is like, that has never happened and it doesn't get that far, and they're like, but just because the chances aren't zero, you know, it could happen. I'm like, who's going to be the first person to you know, to let it go that far? It's just such nonsensical.
Yeah, they don't apply any logic to any of that. It's like, for what you were talking about in that regard, you know, like my wife's in the medical field and we've seen, you know, heard stories and so forth of these things. If something happens that late, there is something catastrophically wrong. Nobody wants that, but they just, whatever worst case scenario they can imagine, they apply it like it's reality.
So it came all the way down to where we got the ESRB, where people were like, people are going to beat each other up because they're watching Power Rangers. Nobody had. People are going to rip each other's spines out because of Mortal Kombat. Nobody has. Most of the time when we see, unfortunately, shootings and stabbings, it's over disagreements, or it's over somebody just enraging somebody through Xbox Live, but not with a video game, just berating that person to a breaking point. Yeah. That had nothing to do with Halo and Cortana. That had to do with just him just demeaning somebody else. It had to do with just two people, and the video game was just a setting. It's just like a setting could be like a convenience store or mall, a school, unfortunately, or just a sidewalk. And it's stupid that people will just look for somebody to blame. Like, well, you know, he did play Mario Paint when he was 12, so I think he learned to aim with the mouse. It's like, shut up.
Jeez. So, go ahead, Chris.
I just want to point out real quick that this isn't the first organization that has done things like this.
Oh, for sure.
Organizations like this usually have blanket statements about what they want to achieve. Like this one, Collective Shout, is talking about feminism, but they're, you know, striking LGBTQ. What about the L? That's feminism. So they are clearly not who they say they are, much like the 1 million mothers kind of thing. This is a veneer. And unfortunately, this kind of thing is cyclical between, you know, freedom and lack thereof. So this will pass, but people are going to have to fight back. And that's what people are doing right now.
They're feeling empowered, so they're coming out of the woodwork.
Yes, but some little bit of good news. Because of all this, Collective Shout's Twitter has been deleted. They're hiding now. So we know what they're doing, and we're fighting back.
Oh, good. I best say, given the current state of Twitter, I'm surprised they're not like lauded as the group of the day or something. Of that
You're
hellhole.
surprised how many people want their porn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, like I said, legal situations, they're there for a reason. You start getting into moral debates over things, and that leads into, what if you're doing a story based on a particular religion? It is your religion. You're showing these stories from it or doing these things. But if this other group doesn't like that religion, are they going to ban your game or mark it as being?
You can't nitpick and just pick what you don't like. It's just, why are you banning all these other books, but you're not banning the Bible? You know that has some stories in there that make these books like seem tame in comparison. So, why the double standard?
Yeah, I think I saw it was like at some group talking about banning books, and this guy got up there and was talking about all these examples of a title that he found, and they were like, "Yeah, that's exactly what we want to get rid of." And then he pointed out it was the Bible, and they made him leave, because they just immediately at that point it's their thing, so they don't want to change it, and that's not, one group should not control everything. If you don't agree with something, as long as it's not as hurting anyone and it is not illegal. I'm not trying to say anything goes. It's a bullshit argument that people love to try and do. If you do things that are harmful to other people, fuck you. You deserve what you get. But if you're just making a game that is incredibly violent, you're just like Mortal Kombat, just tearing people apart, and it's just a game. No one's getting hurt. It's rated for adults, so you're already aware of that. If you don't want to play it or have it be there, then just don't fucking buy it. It does not preclude that others cannot. And Chase, what you were talking about with gun ownership, I have guns. Amanda likes them. My biggest issue is people that don't treat them with respect and treat them like toys.
Yeah, exactly.
People that actually use them for their intended purpose, hunting or just for enjoyment. I get it. I may not agree with everyone's use of it. Some people go a little far with it, but that is not my call to make. It's when people are doing stupid shit with it or leaving it open where people can access it, where they should be put away safe, or in a state that they should not own a gun or done violent crimes, things like that. It's weird that they push back about it, but it's just, come on. Common sense is something we just don't fucking have anymore, it seems.
It's not common. It's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Just remember, okay, in the Old Testament, Leviticus 19:19 and Deuteronomy 22:11 prohibits wearing garments made of two different kinds of materials, specifically wool and linen. So if you do that, you should be burned at the stake.
What was it? There's a scene I've on a show called West Wing from back in the day where he did a whole rant talking about like how he should, marry off his daughter, kill his friend because he wants to work on a certain day. Like, just goes down the list of it. He's like, so what about all these? Because they were making the argument of, the Bible says, being gay is wrong. And like, it doesn't actually state that at all. And you're just adding this other shit, but ignoring everything else.
So, because it just comes back to like, I hate the fact that they're just like ignoring the bigwigs.
Yeah. And that's why I brought up Game of Thrones, because that's one of the most popular and still ongoing.
Basically, you're not trying to save us from the people who have the most pull, the most exposure, who can reach the most people at once. You're going to go for people who have like 2,002 fans, 100,000 fans. You're not going to go for people who represent billions of customers.
Well, yeah.
I want to see Collective Shout go against Toyoverse. There's a lot of sex in that.
And that's the other thing is, like, even with that, talking about exploitation of women and so forth, if a woman, I don't even know how to get into this one without sounding terrible, and I'm not trying to be. Some women I have known just present themselves. They want to be viewed in that way. It's not an invite for anything. Do not get that mixed up whatsoever. But, it's, I don't think there's any way I can actually even explain this without sounding bad. I'm just going to cut this.
Okay, what you're trying to say is there are people who do things under a certain amount of consent and understanding. And they're all in a certain, they're above the age of consent. Everything is legal and allowable between two mutually consenting partners. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes. I was sitting there going like, I don't know how far Amanda wants me to take this.
Well, actually,
TLDR,
it's a good thing that you brought that
TLDR,
up,
you
though.
know,
Yeah.
love is love. First off, and then the other thing I've always said
Mhm.
is a lot of these things are like hats. If I'm wearing a certain hat and you're wearing a certain hat, so be it. But don't you try to make me wear your hat at any time, because you're going to come up with the worst excuses, and you're just probably going to make me mad because I don't like your hat, and I'd rather you just wear your hat and go about your business. So everybody just go about your business and leave us alone.
Yep. What were you going to say, Chase?
Well, it's a good thing that it's actually kind of interesting you brought it up, because I think at one point OnlyFans was under attack from the same thing too. They're trying to shut down OnlyFans, these like payment processing companies.
Yeah.
But then they kind of found out, oh, OnlyFans is actually making us a shit ton of money. So then all of a sudden it kind of went away.
Yeah.
And stuff. And yeah, I don't know. This isn't just like necessarily in certain things. This is kind of like a global issue, because like like a lot of these like WEF dorks and shit, they're all basically trying to like tell us like how things should be run, and it just happens to always be in a way that's profitable for them.
Well, again, this is a cyclical thing. There's basically it's been free and loose for a long time, and now people are starting to yank at the chains again. So people are going to have to react. Some are reacting slower than others because we've gotten a bit complacent, and that's going to happen. You get used to something, then people see that, you're asleep at the wheel and people can do things. So that's what's happening now. It's going to take people waking up and reacting to hopefully get things to slow down or change course.
Yeah, most of the time, the first thing they think of is money, and then what eventually causes a turnaround is, customer perception. If you're perceived as just like a horrible company after that boycott or what have you, then you've just lost an audience. You haven't just lost a customer; you've lost an audience that won't come back. So boycotts are one thing. It's whatever. Half the boycotts are just you're getting rid of stuff you already bought from them, so you're not hurting them. But by trying to cut it off, it's different. So, I can say that, like he said with OnlyFans, they were like, "Oh, they make us tons of money. Maybe we should kind of be nice to them." And there's companies out there where, especially drop shipping companies like Shein or Temu and stuff like that, they go through a lot of complaints. They're definitely not on the podium on the Better Business Bureau, but because the money they cost payment processors versus the money they make for payment processors, they're like the ends justifies the means in there. So even though until it becomes a negative point for the payment processor where they think it's going to hurt their image, they don't care.
And don't get me wrong too, like one thing that really pisses me off is when I have to listen to Tim Cook talk about how we should have like, the companies should be paying their employees this amount of money, and like, cost of wages is bullshit. Or it's like, okay, yeah, cool. How about you like stop making your iPhones a place that's got legally distinct slave labor? Then asshole. Like, don't fucking like lecture me about how like you're so high and mighty, but then you actually like don't give a fuck.
Kind of like when celebrities ask you to donate to a war-torn area, and it's just like, what have you donated?
Yeah,
you have a lot more money than me.
In the defense, some of them actually have. I've seen. So,
oh yeah,
I know, but lately, like when The Rock and Oprah teamed up to talk about the wildfires, they were like, "Please give," and it never said that either of them gave anything.
We need more Dolly Partons.
Yes,
we need way more Dolly Partons.
Well,
in a world of Dwayne The Rock Johnson's, be a Dolly Parton.
To put a cap on this,
Yes.
do your own research and just be very careful these days. That's the best thing you can do. But also, if you want to help, call the payment processors. Take as much time as possible, because time is money.
Talk slowly.
Hurt them in their wallets.
Yep. All right. So let's move on then to our next little story here. All right. So you probably noticed that little jump cut. I had to go talk to my neighbor because he was cutting his grass again. All right. Our next little story here. Rumors around Microsoft are stating that Xbox is expected to announce more game ports to other platforms, including Nintendo Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 in the coming weeks. So I'm kind of wondering, could this be something, could something be shown that expected sometime soon next Nintendo Direct, since there aren't any dated or announced titles after Donkey Kong Bonanza right now? Because I don't think we really know any major titles from Nintendo.
I will say that Metroid Prime 4 and beyond, whatever you want to call it, got rated in Korea. And usually when something gets rated, that means a release date is imminent. So that gives some credence to a surprise Nintendo Direct on a day you're working type thing.
It's going to be a damn Switch 3 launch title at this rate.
The other rumors is that this one's going to be heavily third party. So this makes sense.
I'd be fine with that. I heard another argument someone today. They're like, yeah, the Switch 2 is out. They haven't released enough games. They're very slow. And I was like, you do realize it's like 2 months old? Like, how many games do you expect to already be out? Like, you don't launch a system and then have hundreds of games already there. Nobody's done that. It's impossible. And I'm like, you have thousands of Switch titles you can play on there, but you're not going to have that many right at launch. But I don't know. I'm so curious about Xbox titles coming to the Switch too, because what was it? They publicly in court promised Call of Duty. I want to see where that's going.
So we announced we took people from some of our most popular studios that we closed, and we made a new studio specifically for Nintendo Switch 2 called Xbox Game Keycard Studios.
Yeah. We have to make a promise that all of us with a Switch 2 have to get whatever the Call of Duty is, because we need to see what this is, if it's good or whatever this train wreck of a port is. We have to do this. Oh, it's going to be so rough. But I don't know. There's still a bunch of other stuff, even outside of Call of Duty. I wouldn't mind an actual Switch 2 edition of Minecraft. Grounded 2. Is that coming to Switch 2?
The problem I keep hearing, which is that some of the bigger third parties are waiting for the Direct to do their announcements. But the other issue is just that a lot of people they're not sending out enough dev kits. So you can get the system pretty much all over the place now. It's pretty nice. You can get it everywhere. Yeah. It's fully available. It's just if you want to buy it from those retailers or not. But the fact that a lot of indie developers don't have one yet, bigger ones like the Warframe devs, Marvel Rivals devs, they're like, we're chomping at the bit to release our game on Switch 2, but we need a dev kit. So when you have ones that are behind some big game titles too, or ones that can bring communities to Switch 2, and they're like, just, can we have a dev kit, please?
Yeah. I mean, especially if they're going to be willing to pay for them, just get it out there.
Like, when are we going to see some Switch 2 indies is what I'm going to say.
That's one thing. I know people like to crap on Xbox for things, but I do like the fact that if you have a Series S or a Series X, or even an older Xbox back then, you could just pay a fee and it could be a development kit. Like, it actually just becomes a dev kit you can work on and run code and do things with the license and all that. So it may not be a perfect one, but they could at least, if you could do that for a Switch 2, they could at least start on it. Start working.
They eventually had to modify that because people, myself included, tried to do that so you could download all the emulator apps and make a media box out of your Xbox.
What do you think my Series S is? It's in my room with a whole bunch of stuff.
They shut that down quick. They're like, nope, not enough credentials. We're not allowing people to do that anymore.
Mine still works. I still have all that on there, so I don't know. Chase, any particular Xbox title you want to see come over to the Switch or Switch 2?
I'm just trying to think of one that probably makes sense. Grounded makes sense. Maybe
I want the Master Chief Collection.
Outer Worlds 2.
I want straight up just the Master Chief Collection. Give me that.
Perfect Dark.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, you know what? In all seriousness,
Rare Replay. The Wilds. That's another one.
Rare Replay, because that has the best version of Perfect Dark on it. Why not?
I'd rather them just have a huge N64 update instead.
I like the 360 port of Perfect Dark from the N64 was so much better. It gave you proper controls. It ran beautifully. It looked great.
It doesn't seem like something Nintendo would do. I think they would just be like, okay, we got the okay to put these all on the expansion pack because that makes them more money.
I don't want the case where like Nintendo gets it like they got for GoldenEye, which is the worst way to play it right now because of the controls, but it's the only one with online, which is a freaking crime. And if you do that to me with Perfect Dark from N64, I am going to be upset. Like, because Perfect Dark, especially the 360 version, was so much fun for multiplayer and co-op.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Nintendo's spiteful like that.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know if it's spiteful. It's just a weird licensing thing with GoldenEye. But I'm hoping just include Perfect Dark and Rare Replay so it could just play online.
People have literally told Nintendo that, like, shut up and take my money if you just work with Xbox and give us like the best version of this game. And Nintendo's just like, nope, they're a competitor. We're not going to work with them. Like, it's
We're going to work with us.
Yep, we'll do it our way, and you'll like it or not. We don't give a fuck. Like,
we're going to brand you. We're going to make sure that it says Nintendo on your development studio.
Yeah, I mean. You know, because it's just like, because the other thing too is like, it's the same argument that you've made, Jeremy, with the Xbox to PlayStation issue of why isn't PlayStation giving Xbox stuff? Well, you can make the same argument. Xbox and PlayStation might be sending their stuff to Nintendo, but why isn't Nintendo reciprocating now? Because they're not going to.
They're not going to ever.
They're never going to.
They had the perfect chance to during the Wii U era where they were doing their absolute rock bottom. And if they're not going to do it then, they're not going to do it now.
No.
Now their war chest is like 100 times what it used to be, and everybody's happy.
I kind of understood back in the day when Microsoft would put games on like Game Boy Advance and DS and 3DS, things like that, because their view of it was, we're putting these titles over there and it's opening a market we did not have for portables and handhelds. So that was the benefit. They got a payday from it.
Well,
but
Xbox
now
knows about paydays now because the best-selling game on PlayStation 5 is Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, which is beautifully just brutally hilarious.
Brutally.
You know, I'm just gonna stick with that word. Me no English.
Is it like their top? I think it's not even just Forza Horizon 5. I think like their top 3 best-selling games are all Xbox games or something.
Well, there was a couple of months where their top-selling games were all Xbox titles, and it's just like, huh. And I think that's had an effect, which I think this is a good pullover to our next story here. So, and this is how it ties in. So, rumors show that Sony has released details on a scrap that. Sony is hiring for a new role to bring more of their games to more systems. The position is called a Senior Director, Multi-Platform and Account Management, who will, quote, will play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studios software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic Games Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Fils-Aimé's new position.
How crazy would that be?
So many people would be so confused going, I don't know how to feel about this. Just, sir, are we getting Earthbound or Mother 3 or
no, and he set you on fire again.
Oh my God. You know how the aneurysm it would cause if they're like coming to PlayStation is exclusive. Nintendo's bringing Mother 3, porting it over. We don't want it on our system. We're going to put it over there. It would never happen, but it would
whatever's going on in the world right now, this would be a lot worse.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess Sony's finally seeing that, like, yeah, we can, and I don't think they should put all of them, but I think things like Helldivers 2 going multi-platform makes sense. And I kind of wish that was the logic that Xbox would stick to. Like, keep your single player, certain stuff, like have a reason to have an Xbox. I get that. But, you know, your multiplayer games or your cooperative games, stuff like that, put it out everywhere. It makes financial sense and perfect sense for people to play with for Forza. It makes sense for Grounded, you know, all these other titles, things like that should be with as many people available as possible. So I guess it just seems like Sony is finally kind of going in that direction, at least for part of it.
I kind of think this was going to happen. Like, there's just, I think the way that these two companies see it now, if you're gonna buy an Xbox, you're gonna buy an Xbox. If you're gonna buy PlayStation, you're gonna buy PlayStation. So at this point, they're like, why don't we just maximize the amount of money we make? And just like, I think console exclusivity is kind of going the way of the dodo.
Yeah. I still think it has an important role. Like I said, you need to have a differentiator between it, because that's, you buy a car because of certain cars you like that only that company's making. I have a Hyundai because that's the electric car that I like to have. It's not like Toyota gets to make that same car and I get to go buy it. They may have something similar or have their own. You usually have a reason for when people go to stuff. If everything kind of becomes the same, then at that point you do have the argument of just why it's basically just a PC at that point, which has its own benefits over others,
Well, I mean, to be fair in that argument, I think PC playership is going up and up and up. So,
oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's already kind of happening.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just trying to see if my argument kind of makes sense. Just like I said, not everything has to be exclusive. I get that.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, because that's like, there's games that are only on PlayStation that I have a PS5. I don't play it as much as my other stuff, but I get those games particularly because of that. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, I got it from PS4 and on PS5 because at the time that was the only places to play those. That was their home. Ghost of Yatoya I'm looking forward to, because that's just going to be on PlayStation. So
I think Sony's probably going to go the route of like timed exclusives for their own stuff. Eventually, is how it'll happen. Like if you want to get Ghost of Yotei, you're going to have to get it on PS5. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a couple years
for the PC version. Yeah,
I'm about to say I could see that coming to PC,
and then probably even like another couple years, and then maybe it'll come on Xbox type thing.
Do any of you think we will ever see either of the Spider-Man titles make it to Xbox?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Really? Chris, what about you?
Because they said the next generation, it's rumored that the next generation Xbox will play PC games. So it'll play PlayStation PC games. So it'll play Spider-Man.
Well, Sony covered that.
Excited for that.
Sony covered that and said that they can make it where certain hardware cannot play their titles, just like they can say certain countries can't play it. So they could just say an Xbox, whether it has Steam or not, cannot play this title.
And then they'll say they have a partnership with Collective Shout. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, man.
The last time they actually stopped people from playing a game, that worked really well, because only a few people wanted to play Helldivers, not everybody.
Yep. Well, I remember the whole fiasco. You guys remember what they did when they were fighting crossplay, kicking and screaming with what happened with Fortnite, where not only would they not support crossplay, but if you put Fortnite on your PlayStation, it blocked you from playing it on other stuff. And that pissed off so many people, because they were like, well, I could just go play it on Xbox and play crossplay. Well, you played it on PlayStation. Now you can't play it over here. We've locked it to this. And they're like, what the fuck? So,
yeah, I mean, Xbox has always kind of had a habit of that. They did it with online gaming. They drug Sony and Nintendo with them kicking and screaming. Crossplay, Sony didn't want to do it. Microsoft said, we want to do it. These guys don't want to do it. So don't get mad at us.
Nintendo just said, will it make us money? And they're like, yeah. They're like, okay.
Yeah, Nintendo went along with it. And like that little while of, because I remember the ad for like Minecraft being playable between like Switch and Xbox. Yeah, the shaking
red
hands.
And green, and they're like stronger together. And I was like, oh, geez.
That was one of the big ones that dragged Sony over. But I think Fortnite was the one that finally did it. Because people realized if you played it on PlayStation, you were blocked from other stuff. And they were like, yeah, we just won't play it at all then. And we'll go over here. Because people invest in Fortnite. Like you lose a lot of money if you play it a lot. And then all of a sudden you can't go somewhere else. It locks you in with that. So, yep. All right, let's move on to the next little bit of Sony news here. So what I was trying to say earlier is rumored. Sony has released details on a low power mode coming to PS5 and PS5 Pro for developers. According to a leak from Moore's Law is Dead. That's why I included it was rumor. I did not understand why you deleted rumor.
Because I have the email for the update, and I can do it right now.
Oh, okay. Does it show any more details, or is this still pretty much?
It says you can now turn on Power Saver for supported PS5 games. When using Power Saver, you can scale back performance as needed to reduce power consumption. You can turn this on and off for each supported game. When Power Saver is on, a game supporting Power Saver is active. An icon appears next to the game in Switcher in the control center. And they made it so you can use the DualSense on multiple devices, up to 4 at once.
Oh, that's nice. I like being able to switch Bluetooth controllers between things.
But yeah, the only reason I got rid of the rumor is because I got the official email with the beta code saying you can update your PlayStation 5 now in order to have that if you want.
Okay, that's pretty solid, not rumor proof. They're live on the air.
The easiest way to call it is this is the Xbox Series S mode for PlayStation owners.
Yeah, so the details of what I had, I'll have to verify if it's true, but this is what was originally listed. So it limits the CPU up usage to 8 threads, cuts 3D audio processing power to 75%, clocks down the GDDR6 memory to half speed, reduces the core CPU and GPU clocks by about 10 to 20%, sets the GPU to the minimum frequency needed for compatibility, limits the console to 36 compute units, and then you have no pisser or VR support in this mode.
No,
I still can't believe they called anything pisser. But what people thought was interesting is this seems to be, like you said, Series S mode. It's like this is something requiring, developers support it. Their games running on a lower end hardware. So people are wondering if this means like a future portable PS5 type scenario where it's compatible with the software, but runs at a lower specs for battery life and things like that. Which is also kind of funny because, are we going to see this? People have the same argument that Sony was trying to push about the Series S, that requirement holding back gaming. And then here they are having a low power mode that's pretty much going to be that, like you said, the Series S mode.
It just makes it so Switch 2 can support more PlayStation games.
That's the funny thing is like Series S is actually so close to what Switch 2 is that it's like, if you're making a Switch 2 game, which a lot of people want to do, it carries over to a Series S really easily. So, and then Sony benefits because they're still releasing PS4 titles because that kind of supports a lot of it. I don't know. Do you think Sony would want to get back into the portables, or are they just going to move to more of like the portable PC scenario?
It makes no sense for them.
Yeah, it makes no sense for them. And I think if anything, they're going to just try to expand maybe how the games can run on the PlayStation Portable. the weird one. They're probably going to iPad. They don't want to throw in the towel on that one just yet. So I think they're going to make it so like, more games are supported now because of the low power mode. So all low power mode games will work on the portable one and run at 60 frames and stuff like that. So they're going to try to market that poor guy as a Switch too. So
that's the funny thing though, because even if they're running at full spec, it's still just streaming it. So it doesn't care what you're running from. That's the funny thing.
People aren't going to put that together. Digital Foundry will kick and scream, but the normal consumer will be like, what? I can play the newest Final Fantasy 16 at 60 frames? Sign me up.
God.
I think the rumors about PlayStation making a handheld this is probably leaning towards they are going to do it. But as Swan and I have talked about, it makes absolutely zero sense for them to do it. It benefits Xbox to do it. Like what they're doing with the ROG Ally X and stuff, I think is fine.
I could see Sony doing that, like just licensing out a handheld.
The only way I can see them making a portable is if, just like Xbox, it is digital only, because they're not going to make a new format for their games. They're just going to be like, go to our store and the whole thing's digital. The end.
You don't want to bring back the Vita memory cards? We're not going to support micro SD. It has to be that damn Vita memory card.
It's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that though, because they got slammed for that. And then I think Sony
not enough.
No, they did. They took that one hard, and then they thought that they were being real cool with the whole we'll make it on the PS5 that you can buy whatever internal storage that you want. It just has to be within these guidelines. And then people were like, this is fucking stupid. Like, Xbox has just a hot swappable fucking memory card. Why can't you do something like that? They're just like, fuck
I
it, man.
feel
We
like
can't win.
I feel like I'm being called out here, Chase.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, I'm sure Sony's probably just sitting there thinking, like, fuck, we can't win. When we try proprietary memory, we get slammed. When we don't try proprietary memory, we get slammed.
So you have to remember, before game key cards, the Vita invented it, because there are games like, I'm going to read them out right now: Uncharted Golden Abyss, Ridge Racer, Disgaea 3, Hot Shots Golf 6, Monster Raider, and Dream Club Zero Portable were all games that required the memory card at launch. So they had it right on the front saying, if you can't download this to a memory card, it won't play. And you didn't have onboard memory for it to do it. It said, no, we can't read onboard memory. We have to read from memory cards.
Yeah, I don't think they had to be online to do it. They just had to have somewhere to decompress and run it.
No, but it was still like,
Yeah,
if you don't have extra stuff, you can't play this.
right. They did make a Vita later on that had memory built in, but it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a little too late for this.
Yeah, too little, too late.
Because Sony dropped the ball on this. Like they were doing their best with the PSP. That was a great system. The discs were questionable for some stuff, but like, it was popular. It was selling well. It had great titles. It was the closest they ever came to competing with Nintendo on the handheld side. The DS still ate its lunch, but it held its own really well. And then they got cocky and made the Vita. And then when they could have turned around, like Nintendo messed up with the 3DS with the cost and stuff, turned it around, made it super popular, and it did well. Sony with the Vita had their memory cards, which were already a massively overpriced problem, and I still think killed it. I've had people argue with me otherwise, but I will argue to the day I die. The Vita fucked up because that memory card cost too much.
Proprietary can kill a lot of things.
Yeah, and I know people argue that the Magic Gate and the drives they had on the PSP were proprietary, but they were actually being used in cameras and Vio laptops and other stuff. Like, they were usable for many things. The Vita memory card never got used on a single other item, ever. So that's why they never went down in price. Sony had the chance to turn that around. They included some memory. They could have changed what memory card it supported with a new version of it. They could have kept, but they didn't keep developing for it and just let it languish. And they let it die. That's on them. It just became a whole bunch of just anime games half the time. And some, it was good for, some indies, but that was about it. And what?
And porn.
Board Station Portable.
Oh, God. Yeah, probably. So I don't know. Like, at most, I think they're just going to either make a license for a PC company to make a handheld and just support that.
Which they did. Remember, they have a partnership with AMD.
That's true.
Everybody's got a partnership with AMD, other than
except Nintendo. Nintendo's with NVIDIA, who is in a much better place right now.
Yeah, but say NVIDIA's doing a good job with them, so I think they're okay with it. Oh, man. All right, so that's kind of a fun talk, but let's talk, Comic-Con. All right, so we have a whole bunch of different news things from Comic-Con that I just wanted to go through. Some of these I thought were interesting, mostly toy-related, but also some movie and TV show announcements. And if you guys have anything you want to add to this, feel free to add them in. First off, we're going to jump into He-Man. And He-Man's gotten weird for a few different things. So He-Man is crossing over with Transformers, which I was very confused by when I first saw this, because I was like, oh, okay, they're making He-Man figures based on like Bumblebee and Megatron. No, it's actually Man-at-Arms. His armor is just based on Bumblebee. The face mask comes off and everything. And then Skeletor is just looks like he's wearing the gutted outer shell of Megatron. Like he killed him and just put him on like a Megatron suit, literally. Which is kind of neat. They're also announced a character called Spycore, which apparently they're going back to like early 1980s sketch ideas that never got made, and then actually making the toys. and they're including the sketches with them, so you can kind of look at the design process. This one looks very weird, and I could imagine some kid getting hurt throwing it at another kid in their eye. It's covered in spikes. That thing's going right in a child's face. Huh?
They should just call it like Lawn Dart Man.
Thankfully, they're not sharp spikes, but
neither were lawn darts.
All right, touche. Oh man, anybody else here actually used to play with He-Man at all or remember it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to say, Steven, you're about my age, so
I had Castle Grayskull and I had 2 He-Man figures, and the rest were gutter trash. So that's how it worked.
I never got Castle Grayskull. I did get a few of the other play sets, including one that had this creature that was a hand puppet.
Yeah, I had that one.
I love that one.
I just had He-Man, Skeletor, Man-E-Faces, and Man-at-Arms, and Orko, and I took his hat off a lot.
Oh god,
because I wanted to see what was underneath.
I had the battle damage He-Man and Skeletor, where you could hit it and it would like rotate and give like 1 slash, hit it again, it would rotate and have 2, and then you could reset it. Moss Man, I had Ram Man. I still have Ram Man, actually. I had a bunch of He-Man figures as a kid. What?
You ever read Wizard magazine?
Oh god, yes. I still have a bunch of those. I loved their comics in there.
It always paid off to look at the price guide in the back, because that's where they'd have their funniest things. Because all I remember is like a little like Disney or Cabbage Patch figure, and then Ram Man. He's like, "I'm Ram Man," and she's like, "I don't bend at the waist." I was like, and as a kid, I was just like, I actually get that. That's hilarious.
Oh god. Yeah, because I remember those single panel comics they'd have in the back just spread out between them. Those were great. They actually did a couple issues where they were just that. The Toy Fair is what they would do for a lot of those as well, if you ever read those.
Yeah.
From the same group. So, all right. So next little bit of this, we've got, they actually, for the live action Masters of the Universe movie, they showed off He-Man's Power Sword and Skeletor's Chaos Staff, which I love the fact that they are actually cartoon and toy accurate. Like they're just going into the movie with accurate stuff. And I still don't know when this movie's coming out. We keep getting hints at it. I don't know if they have an exact date. I think my biggest thing is I want to see what Skeletor looks like. That is the make it or break it point for me, I think. Because the old He-Man movie, which, fun fact, was the very first movie I ever saw in a theater, was He-Man. I also got my first BMX bike the same day. It was a good day. But I loved how Skeletor looked in that. Like you could tell it was kind of fleshy, but like they really made his face look skeletal, which was creepy as a kid. Everybody else looked terrible. Like Dolph Lundgren, I love him, but he was kind of dressed weird as He-Man. Man-at-Arms was okay. Everybody else looked like they were just kind of there. And then Orko just didn't happen. They had some weird little short guy with an odd musical instrument. Don't know where the hell that came from. So who knows? You guys ever seen that movie? No?
I was busy washing my hair.
It's been a long time. I don't remember much of it, but I do remember that it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I will say that. It
was an early Courtney Cox movie also, by the way. She is one of the main characters, which is hilarious. All right, let's move on to some other toys here. So Marvel Legends series is releasing that each comes with their own Magic the Gathering card. So now we're crossing over toys with Magic the Gathering. And these characters include Agent Anti-Venom, who has a shit ton of guns. Chase talking about his stuff earlier. He's got like a bunch of tendrils that come off, all have guns in his hand. It's just like he could just shoot the... Yeah, it's like 6 guns the guy's holding.
I mean, I love Venom and Anti-Venom, but... Okay.
Yeah, you should look up Agent Anti-Venom. It's really funny. Spider-Man is getting his own, but it's like absolutely shit kicked out of him Spider-Man. Like you can either have his mask off with his face all bruised up and cut, or like part of the mask ripped off. Half of his suit is ripped and torn, and he just looks like he's seen better days. But then the card is him with perfectly good costume. So I don't know why they packaged it with "I've had my ass whooped Spider-Man." Man-Wolf with a flippable card that has Colonel John Jameson on one side and then his alter ego Man-Wolf on the other. So I guess when you're playing it, you can flip it to turn him between the two forms like a werewolf, which is kind of neat. And then Mary Jane Watson as Iron Spider. And I feel like I have missed a bunch of comics because I don't know when this happened.
She's also been Venom, so we've been missing out on a lot.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I never knew she had the Iron Spider suit because that should not just give her Spider-Man powers. But whatever, she has a Magic the Gathering card now. So somehow you can take that and put it with your Lord of the Rings ones and Ghostbusters ones. And is Magic about magic anymore, or is it the Fortnite of card games?
It's getting there. It's got My Little Pony, Final Fantasy,
Transformers,
Doctor Who, Marvel.
Yeah, a whole bunch of Marvel. I think, did you say Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters. They just got Sonic the Hedgehog. So yeah.
God. Yeah, it is literally the Fortnite of card games. Okay. I'll have to see where else that goes. Also, they are releasing Mephisto with throne and sword along with a Spider-Man who is in an actual normal suit. Kind of feels like they should have switched them. Like have the Spider-Man with the card that has the full suit and then have the messed up one come with Mephisto. It would be a kind of an extra bonus. But whatever, you can get actual Mephisto with his throne, his sword, a couple cape options. It looks really nice. Like I think it would be a good display piece.
He's getting casted soon because there's a certain actor who showed off his shredded look, and they said he's playing a devilish character, and I'm like, he looks exactly like Mephisto. So
Mephisto's already been cast and been in a Marvel series. He was in Ironheart. It's Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, because he's shredded now.
He goes back and forth. Like that guy has been a chameleon for most. Because the first time I ever saw Sacha Baron Cohen was. Do you guys ever hear of a show called Ollie G?
Yeah,
that's where I knew him from.
But now just to see him like thin and just like shredded head to toe, you're like, all right, damn.
Yeah, kind of interesting on that one. All right, so another thing, because there's a lot of the toy stuff for Marvel, X-Men 97 is getting a new line of cartoon accurate figures. And these I really like because they're really good for display. Like the colors are really accurate. Like they look a lot like the cartoon, but they've had some interesting choices on what they actually picked this time. So you can get Cyclops and Jean Grey in their classic outfits, which is Cyclops' blue and yellow suit, and then Jean's Marble Girl outfit, which is the green dress with the yellow face mask as a double set. Wolverine and Storm, but Wolverine is in the classic brown suit and Storm is in her black and yellow caped outfit, which to me, the brown suit is the best Wolverine design. Go ahead, Steven.
This would influence a purchase for me, but does Wolverine come with the picture frame that he laments over in the cartoon?
No, they did release that as a different set. It would come with the entire bed, the frame. He even had the custom hand so he could have his hand on it. You can find that. That's out there, but get ready to pay some money for it. But this is not that one.
Dang.
Because that was the yellow suit. I think when they did that, it came with the picture and all that. Gambit and Marvel's Rogue, because I love how they have to call it Marvel's Rogue. They have to do that for a lot of stuff. Transformers has to do that too. So it's not just Blaster, it has to be Autobot Blaster, so they can copyright it. But Marvel's Rogue, they have their basketball scene from the cartoon, from the X-Men 97. Gambit is just in his gym shorts and bandana and shoes, but he has a replaceable hand that has the basketball, so you get that. And then Rogue is in her full green and yellow suit, but still has the other top over it. Because, she can't touch anyone while playing basketball. Go ahead, Chase.
So what if, Gambit or Rogue was, one of your favorite characters and you wanted them just in their normal kit?
They were in the first release. I actually have Gambit in his actual suit.
Snooze, you lose, Chase.
Yeah, this is the second series, so this is where they start getting more of the weird ones and different alternatives in there.
Well, I mean, this isn't for me anyway, Swan. I was asking in the sense of
No, it's a legit question. I mean, I get it.
Seems odd that we're gonna give you all these characters and their costumes and stuff, and then Gambit's in gym shorts.
Well, well, to be honest, too, there's some legally distinct ones where they can't say certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm trying to collect all the Gamerverse figures that are based on obviously Marvel vs. Capcom, but they can't say Marvel vs. Capcom and they can't even show screenshots from the game. It's just Gamerverse. So they've even had the names of some characters to be like legally distinct, but like that's what I've been looking for because they showed that off at the show too, because I'm trying to get all of those.
I know, I'm trying to remember which two characters. I know Gambit, or not Gambit, Cable is one of them. Because Cable was done, they couldn't say it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but he is designed after the same one, and they very much hinted at it when they announced the
this
others.
one, and they're doing the amiibo thing. Each retailer gets an exclusive,
shit.
and they're versus each other. And so far, the Target one sold out the fastest. I've gotten I got Juggernaut, I got Silver Samurai versus wasn't Wolverine, it was somebody else, but like
Psylocke, I think.
Target one is Thanos versus Psylocke. So that one's the harder one to get. But some characters are so big they're their own Game Reverse characters.
Juggernaut
but there's
and
also like Spider-Man and other Game Reverse, but those they're not based on Marvel vs. Capcom. Those are based off of different games that they also can't say which game. You just have to figure it out for yourself. So it's very confusing with the Game Reverse figures.
Yeah, it gets that way with Transformers also. They have a bunch of them that were released based off of Transformers Devastation, and you have to kind of figure out which ones go to what. It's weird because it's all done with a different art style. But yeah, Chase, the way a lot of these toys get released for most things, the first run or first series tends to have the main characters in their usual costumes, maybe one or two extra different ones like to fill in or do different. And then when you start going to the second series, that's where you get either recolors where they can, produce another one for you to buy without going into a bunch of molding, or they'll kind of mix and match parts to figure that out. Like Gambit's body might have come from somebody else that they could actually kind of fit it on there to use it without having to make a new mold. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with Rogue, at least. So the further in you get in a series, the weirder the characters get. That's the beauty of it. And Marvel is at the point for their main toy line that they make some weird shit. So we're still got much to go through with X-Men 97. Continuing that though, Emma Frost, also known in the comics as White Queen, in her actual outfit, which was kind of shocking that they were doing that. I was like, okay, cool. We're getting Jubilee, which is nice because she actually does come with her soda cup. Like she's can hold, like she's at the mall just drinking a soda. But she's also got like her little sparkles and things that she shoots out, the plasma pieces. Marvel's Cable with, surprise, a lot of guns, which I think I'm going to get that one because it looks really, really good. Oh, what you doing, Steven?
Charging my phone. It says it was about to die.
Hey, don't let that happen. Logan, the Brown Coat Season 1 version with claw hands, regular hands, and a hand for playing cards. Like he just comes with a hand of cards. I'm curious what hand it is. I'll have to see. Then we had Marvel's Morph with 3 replaceable heads, including Bolivar Trask, his white morph look from the current series, and then his human Season 1 style face. So you can just pop that off and switch them out. Which I guess...
Does it come with a coffin?
He comes back.
Season 1 coffin?
There you go. I guess, I wonder if you could just like pop off another figure's head and just pop it onto his, like, because technically he could be anyone else. Maybe. And then lastly, we had Marvel's Sunspot. He's using the black and yellow X-Men outfit, which he's got like fireballs and things, but I kind of wish they had given him a replacement head with his like on fire version. Kind of feels like that should have been there, I don't know. Anybody else here a fan of X-Men 97?
Yeah, not the figures, but the show.
I got some of the figures. I need to get. I wanted to get Wolverine, but I might actually go hunt down the brown suit Wolverine because honestly that's my favorite.
They showed them off as well. That it's the Muppets 70th anniversary this year, so they're doing comic things like the Swedish Chef will have Wolverine's claws, but they're wooden spoons. So they showed off all the covers. If you look it up, Muppets 70th Marvel covers, there's all these Marvel tributes that are done with Muppets only. I don't know if it'll just be reissues of old comics or just the covers, but they look sweet. They have Fozzie Bear as the thing. So
Oh, that's fantastic. That's not even, I didn't mean to make that joke. It's
That's
honestly
fantastic.
fantastic. Damn it. All right. So the next thing here, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cross Godzilla. And they look kind of interesting, but it's Leonardo as Godzilla, Raphael as Rodan, and Michelangelo as King Ghidorah.
Chase has something to say.
But where is Donatello? And what would he have been? But Chase, I got to get your reaction. Go ahead.
Gamora.
What? Like, what on earth is going on here? What universe am I in? Fucking aliens are about to show up. Like, this is ridiculous.
Ninja Turtles have always had really good crossovers over the years. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, like, I wish I could have gotten it, but they had Star Trek ones where they're all in uniforms, and Donatello had taped on Vulcan ears, which was great.
They had a crossover with them.
Star Trek's had a crossover with everything.
Transformers did a My Little Pony crossover. Yes, we had that.
I have it. Yeah.
TMNT's done a lot of
nothing's
crossovers.
Off base, Chase. If you go to a store that has Funkos, you'll most likely see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles He-Man crossover where they gave Shredder like Skeletor's outfit and stuff, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, there's TMNT versus Batman. There's
TMNT
I
have that
and Power Rangers.
Yeah.
TMNT and Naruto. There's a whole bunch. I think they're hanging out with Godzilla next. That's in San Diego Comic-Con right now.
Yep. All of this is just announced at Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's
funny.
Like, I'm not against like
Winter should be Mothra. There we go.
Like Batman and stuff like that. But literally, I'm looking at the toys right now. What on
They're
God's
cool.
earth am I looking at? Like,
so
Michelangelo looks so weird. This is just
so some of my favorite crossovers with Ninja Turtles they've done over the years. Like they did a really good set where they crossed them over with the Universal Studios monsters.
Yep,
those looked phenomenal. You had, the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, like they did a really good job with those. And they have a newer set coming out where they've done Shredder as Dracula. And it's kind of neat looking. Like the way his suit is with like, the all the mouth and everything. Then they did a two-headed Frankenstein Gorgon type thing with like Donatello and Michelangelo combined together recently. I just saw that one earlier. It was weird. But yeah,
I like Leonardo's swords. They look cool.
I want to know why they don't have Donatello. Why didn't they just finish out the set? They couldn't find a fourth creature. There's so many freaking monsters they could have done.
It's probably because the figures are so big. And one of my friends is actually theorizing that Donatello is going to be Anguirus or Rodan or something.
Well, no, Rodan's Raphael.
Yeah.
Anguirus.
They can make him. They'll make him Mothra. There you go.
So, we can guess about Donatello, but I will be absolutely upset if we do not get Metalhead as Mechagodzilla. Come on.
Mechagodzilla should be Shredder.
Now, Mechagodzilla should be Metalhead because he is a robot Ninja Turtle. Like that is too good. I don't know what Shredder would be, actually. Can I get
Godzilla?
Can I get a Baxter Stockman Mothra? It's bug for a bug. I mean, you could stick with the design.
April O'Neil Mothra. There you go.
Well, okay, so if they do Baxter Stockman as Mothra, they should do April O'Neil as like the girls that sing to it.
Yeah. Actually,
does that mean Casey Jones should be that jet dude?
Jaguar. There you go.
He's got the mask. That's perfect. Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
We should work for Hasbro and NECA now.
Yeah, no kidding, guys. We will we'll give you some ideas. I'm trying to think of who
Shredder would be then. Space Godzilla, maybe? Because he's got the spikes and stuff.
I could see that. Maybe it's like a Super Shredder for the look of it. Yeah, something. No, I could see that. I don't know what, Rocksteady and Bebop. We'd have to find like a good pairing for those. I'm sure there's a couple of them because there's been so many good monsters in Godzilla series over the decades. We'll have to come back to that. That'd be an interesting question sometimes.
this was just like, this is like out of left field. I mean, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Call of Duty was like left field, and then this is just like somebody's cranked the home run.
It still kills me that it took this long to get Ninja Turtles in a Tony Hawk game. Like that felt like it should have been such a natural connection, but no, we didn't get it until friggin' Tony Hawk 3 and 4. So
I agree.
All right, so let's go over to the NECA figures. It's a different company making Ninja Turtle stuff. They've done the 1990 live action Turtles before. These are really nice ones that they're doing now for kind of collectors. What I thought was absolutely hilarious, though, is that Leonardo himself comes with the pizza box that they get delivered, which if you remember from the 1990 movies was Domino's. They don't have the license for that, but they have. It's called Tile Game Pizza on the box. And they just did a different domino piece. And I got to give them credit. That is kind of a funny way to get around the license. I'm sure someone's going to make an aftermarket sticker to go over that to be a Domino pizza box, but hats off to at least the creativity of it. And then also I like the fact that they did do Michelangelo, where he's just got his finger up and he's got the nunchuck spinning on it. When he's talking about, fellow chucker, eh? So it's kind of nice to finally get that in there. All right. So another 1980s cartoon that I absolutely loved is making a comeback, and that is M.A.S.K. Talked about this one before, but the Loyal Subjects and Hasbro are coming back with these with a whole new series based on the original toys. So we're going to get Matt Tracker with the Thunderhawk, which was the first car that I had back before I even moved from Virginia to Florida. I had that car and lost it somewhere on the way. Brad Turner with the Condor, which was the little green motorcycle that becomes a helicopter. You can get another Matt Tracker and then Bruce Sato, both in their classic original uniforms, with the Mobile Defense Unit, or originally called the Rhino. They had to change the name. There's also a limited edition that includes Scott Tracker, his son, and the robot T-Bob, which is this like little potato-shaped or pill-shaped robot he had that could turn into a little scooter he could ride. I used to have the toy for it. I think I lost that thing decades ago, but it was kind of neat. Miles Wolf Mayhem with the HTH, or the high-tech helicopter, which used to be called the Switchblade. Once again, they had to change the name, be it for licensing or the fact they don't want to call it Switchblade. These aren't really made for kids. Like they could be, but they're kind of collector's items things. And they're also releasing a gold and black themed anniversary editions for all of them, because it is and this makes me feel so freaking old, 40th anniversary of this series from 1985 to 2025. Time moves on and does not care what you think. Oh. I'll ask again, did any of you guys remember M.A.S.K, or am I the only one that was into that one?
I hated M.A.S.K, Silverhawks, Thunderbirds, and G.I. Joe. Those are all trash.
How are we friends? No. Like, these are some of my favorites. Oh my God, Stephen, what is wrong with you? Chris, you ever watch any of these?
That and Thundar the Barbarian, that was trash too.
I remember the theme songs. That's about it.
M.A.S.K got a really good theme song. I remember that one. Oh man. So let's move into some movie news here on this one. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot and hit a button. Boop. So the previously thrown away Coyote versus Acme is now getting a limited theatrical release on August 28th, thanks to Ketchup Entertainment that got the rights to the film.
2026.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like, good Lord, it's going to be next month. That's great.
No, yeah. Will Forte was at the convention and he said it's coming back 2026, August 28th.
Are they going to release it physically before that or after? Probably.
Because I don't know, but I shared the movie poster in the Discord.
Okay. I saw the movie poster. I guess I didn't catch the year whenever I saw the news about it. I'm going to go see it. I've heard so much about it, and like
they said so many people laughed out loud. I was like, I'll go see it.
I still wonder like how this works out. Like I don't understand the logistics of it, that they could tin the game, the movie, basically just bin it, put it away for a tax write-off, but then still be able to sell it to somebody else for them to be able to release it. So does that still work with their tax write-off, or is that they get more money from it? I just don't get it.
Hey, I want Batgirl to be released
I do too.
because I mainly want to see Brendan Fraser as a villain. He's never done a villain.
He was going to be Firefly, which is an interesting villain
And
to cover.
he got the part, and he got the part or got canceled, one of the two, on his birthday. So I was like, come on.
That's just wrong.
I want to see this guy's darker side because I know he'll do a good job.
Yeah, I don't know if they would release it anymore because it wouldn't be part of the DCU, the current one. So I don't know if they would even let them do that. That's my only concern. Because that was kind of a last holdover from stuff like The Flash and everything. I don't know. They should just release it as an Elseworlds and be done with it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's move over to some Star Trek news, which I'm probably the only one here that gives a shit, but I'm going to say it anyways because I love me some Star Trek. Star Trek Academy has shown more characters, including the return of Tig Notaro as Jet Reno from Star Trek Discovery, Robert Picardo as the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager, since he's a hologram, he's still alive centuries later. We also get a look at the villain role for Paul Giamatti and his alien makeup, which was kind of a fun scene where he's whistling the Star Trek theme, which I'm wondering if that's just an inside joke as the group is going down the hallway. And then we also see Holly Hunt in her Starfleet captain's uniform, because I guess she's the kind of like commandant for the academy that they're doing. So, and if people are wondering who Holly Hunt is, you're probably very young and you might know her as Elastigirl from The Incredibles, because that's the voice actor for that as well. She's done a lot more than that, but that's just what the kids might remember. There's a lot of older Star Trek references that are way too many to name that I saw just watching this trailer. But like a few little ones, like classrooms are named after famous stuff. Like there's a pavilion they had that's like the James T. Kirk one that they were showing, rooms named after people, things like that. They had some kind of wall of honor or something in the background that I was looking through, and almost every single name was a reference. Like I saw Wesley Crusher, I saw Captain Montgomery Scott, I saw, just going down the list. I was like, I can't name every one of these. But what I found more interesting for those of you that have watched Star Trek for years, specifically things like Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, they had a scene that showed like an information thing a student was accessing that was talking about the fate of Benjamin Sisko on, like what happened to him. Did he die going into there? Is he still alive in the Celestial Temple? All this other stuff. And I was like, okay, that's a question that's been asked since like 1995, 96, maybe, when the show ended. So that's kind of neat that they might actually cover it. There was also another one that said something about alternate continuums, which makes me wonder maybe they're just talking about the Q continuum. So who knows? Next up, we had, and this was kind of a fun one, Star Trek Kahn was announced. And I wasn't sure if this was like a movie, but no, it's coming out September 9th. It's a podcast formatted radio drama. So they're kind of just doing a radio drama that they're released episodically starting on September 9th. Naveen Andrews is going to play Kahn. Ren Schmidt is Marla McGivers, who was the woman that whenever Kahn kind of mutinied on the Enterprise before getting kicked off and being sent to the other planet, she was the one that ended up going with him. Sonia Cassidy is Dr. Rosalind Lear, which I'm not sure if that's a returning character. I don't remember. Tim Russ is playing Ensign Tuvok, which that was hinted back in an episode of Voyager that, Vulcans are alive for so long. He was alive back on the Excelsior with George Decay as Captain Sulu, who is also returning again to play that role. So this will cover the time between the episodes Space Seed and go into Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. But it'll involve the Excelsior that Sulu was the captain of at the time. And it's kind of a rare look at what's known as the Lost Era, which they haven't done much story or continuity wise, because that's between the end of the original series movies and the beginning of Star Trek The Next Generation. There's like this big gap in time that they haven't really covered much. So kind of neat to see more of that. Everyone's so quiet. You can tell I'm the only one that watches Star Trek. You guys are lucky I didn't bring like
Spies.
ships and things. I have so many of them. Say what?
Spies.
Spies.
The only,
All right.
The one thing about Star Trek that I really like is just as being kind of a local boy, just like knowing where James T. Kirk's from, his hometown.
Over there in Iowa, I believe.
Yep.
Riverside, Iowa.
There you go. All right, and our last little bit here is season 5 of The Boys has had clips shown from the actual series, as well as confirmation of Gen V season 2 getting a full trailer. So
the full trailer has been on TikTok. I've seen it. And they also separately reported Starlight will return.
Yep.
And Seth Rogen will be in it.
Oh God, I didn't see that. That's great. Well, I know Rachel is not with us anymore, but she'll be happy with this because there's a lot of the people from Supernatural are coming in this season. So,
well, the other one finally, yeah.
Well, the other two, because the Angel, he's coming back as a character as well. So I don't remember all the Jason Pilecki, and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. But I know if Rachel's hearing this, she's yelling at something right now. Who knows? All right, so let's run over to the speed run. So sadly, we've had a couple of deaths in the past week that have occurred for different things. But starting off, Julian LaFay, the lead developer on Elder Scrolls Arena and Daggerfall, and also called the father of the Elder Scrolls series, has passed away. He was battling cancer and had actually come back, formed a new studio to make games kind of like the vein of the older Elder Scroll titles, and has not finished that yet. His team is still working on it. I believe they have a title in the works, so we'll see where that goes. Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away from a drowning accident, best known for his role as Theo on The Cosby Show. That one kind of struck me hard because I grew up watching that. So it was kind of, it feels like such a random accident, you know, just to kind of happen like that. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away after an amazing farewell concert where he helped raise over $190 million for Parkinson's research and children's hospitals.
The largest in history now.
Yep. That concert, if you get a chance to watch it, because I think a lot of it is online, like he could not physically get up to do this stuff. So they gave him like this really neat looking Gothic throne, basically. And even at his age, because he was like 79, he was still singing, doing really well with that. He just couldn't get up and play the guitar or, you know, the actions anymore, but he was still there enough to do the concert and looked like he was having a blast doing it. So, you know, it was about a week later that he passed away, but like, that's a hell of a way to go. Like, and it's one of the rare instances of a farewell concert being a literal farewell concert. So, other people died, but I don't want to talk about his racist ass. And then we had Lego officially revealed.
It comes crashing down and it hurts inside, but yeah, whatever.
Say what?
I said it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not to me.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's the lyric of his song, so he already foretold his death.
Lego has officially revealed their upcoming Game Boy set. They'll be $60, launching October 1st, and includes buildable carts for Super Mario Land and Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, as well as lenticular swappable screens featuring the boot up Nintendo logo, which I love the fact when you use that, it looks like, you know, the screen having the after image. I was like, that is genius. There's a scene from each of the other games, which one of them is Link sitting with Marin, I think, on the beach. And then the other one is just a scene from Mario Land with Mario jumping, I believe. Those are stored behind the battery compartment on the back of the Game Boy, which is fantastic. You can pop that open and put those there. There's also stands for the system and whatever game is not in the system, so you can display them. Steven, I'm guessing you've already pre-ordered this.
Yeah, I got it from Lego.com, which is now sold out.
Yeah, I had to get mine from Amazon, but I do have it pre-ordered, so that's cool.
It's the first like nicely priced Lego set.
Yeah, it's $60 is not bad. I played a little bit less
cheaper than the original Game Boy.
Yeah, original Game Boy was $89.99 back then. I don't know what inflation would make that now. Probably well over $150, but who knows? Chase, so are you much for Lego sets at all?
Yeah, Chanel and I are real big into Lego stuff. We're just pretty picky about what we get. I just actually finished. You'll probably appreciate this, Jeremy, but I actually finished the Bat Cave, the one that
Oh,
opens
which
up.
one?
The one
Really?
that opens up
You lucky
and turns
bastard.
into the display, or you can close it. And it's got a display case. It's a display case with the Batman logo as the see-through.
I need pictures of this, man.
Yeah, I'll take pictures of it and show it to
It's
you.
on Discord. That's great. Yeah, I still have the 2-foot long 89 Batmobile that I have to build. I'm looking forward to doing that one. And I've got some of like the smaller 1960s Batmobile and a couple of the other sets, but I never got to get the Batwing or either of the caves. The other set they had as Batman the Animated Series, they did kind of like the Gotham skyline. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
That one's kind of hard to get a hold of too. It's expensive.
Yeah, I really want to get the UCS of the Venerator from Star Wars, but that's like over here. That's $1,000. So it's like
Jesus. Yeah, no, that's a lot.
So it's like half a Switch 2. Okay.
Switch 2 is cheaper, actually.
Good God. That sounds about right for Lego, but still, man. Next up, Microsoft and Obsidian have decided to back off their $79.99 price for The Outer Worlds 2 and dropped it to $69.99. Just kind of randomly reversed that because people said no. And oddly, they listened.
I kind of have a bit of a weird issue with this.
How so?
If Nintendo can do it, why can't Microsoft?
Nintendo didn't drop their price.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Nintendo could charge $80 for a game. Then why can't Microsoft?
They needed some goodwill after firing like 10,000 people though.
Right, they don't have to pay as many people now, so they can save the $10.
What is that ever? What is savings ever like? Equated
$10
$10
from everybody fired is a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Chase. They're like almost the largest company in the world financially. Cut up some slack.
Right. They're the largest video game publisher now too.
I think it's more along the lines of them having a new console and they have an excuse to charge more. We'll see what happens later.
Yeah. This one just doesn't necessarily sit right with me.
I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just giving an excuse.
I still think Steven's right. Like, it's trying to be like, look, we did this thing. Give us goodwill because people are freaking out about Mario Kart, even though that's the only game that they did for 80.
If we learned anything from a moron out there who's got too much power on his hands, if announcing distractions gets you off of the worst you've done. So if you announce cane sugar's coming back to Coke or you're changing a football team's name, it'll take people's attention off of other things. So this is Microsoft saying, good idea.
Yeah, don't worry. South Park will bring the attention right back. Oh, I don't know if y'all have seen that episode. Holy shit.
It was great.
Oh, it's great. But moving on the other stuff from Microsoft, Ninja Gaiden 4 and The Outer Worlds 2 will now have physical disc releases for PS5 and Xbox. But still no word if the game is actually on the disc. Go ahead, Steven.
I still am going to, 1, not pre-order these, and 2, wait until I can see them in the flesh or in the box. Because their explanation is the reason that digital game code is on the bottom of the box is because that's for the deluxe edition content and there's a disc inside. And I was just like, no, you wouldn't write that on the bottom. You'd be like Nintendo and just be like, DLC included or something like that. Don't confuse people about what's written on the bottom. So I need to see what the actual box art is when it comes out because the listings just now say disc in the parentheses. I'm not buying that just yet. Because they already said the Outer Worlds 2 on PS5 was a disc installer. So it's got to be the same thing on Xbox. But
sadly, yeah.
Ninja Gaiden, it would be nice to get that because, but if they really wanted to be nice, they could have announced that, Gears of War Remastered's coming to Xbox physical, but no.
That still blows my freaking mind. Like, of all things, like Xbox should get the physical release.
Ninja Gaiden has been on so many systems. It's okay if you have like a mismatch of what systems you have the collection for. Outer Worlds 2 is on Outer Wilds was on Switch. But Outer Worlds has been on PlayStation and Xbox, so you can kind of go either way, but most people are going to PlayStation because of the physical. Now they might go back to Xbox like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gears we know is only a PlayStation, so it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's such a weird thing. So, speaking of that, for physical releases, there's one more I was going to add to this. It was confirmed, like Donkey Kong Bonanza does not have the first firmware update on it, but the new Mario Party, the Mario Party Jamboree plus whatever version that's coming out, does have the firmware on it. So there is a way to get the backwards compatibility update without having to go online now officially. If you get a hold of that cartridge, you can add it and play the games offline. So that's good. And I still think Nintendo is going to just probably have that update already included on the next batch of Switch 2s they make.
Yeah, people will be watching that Pokemon system really closely.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get it even before then. We'll just start getting new updates for it because they've always done that. Like you get systems and they tend to have a more up-to-date, firmware already on there. PlayStation does it, Microsoft does it, Nintendo's done it before. So it may not be the most up-to-date, but it'll at least probably be the first update at a minimum right now. All right, let's go over to the big question. So this week, we're asking, what are some of your favorite toy lines that you had or remember you wanted to have as a kid? And this is because we had all the toy discussion from Comic-Con, got me kind of thinking about it from so many things coming back. And Steven, let's start with you.
So I know I had the He-Man ones as a kid, and those were all right. I seem to like the smaller figures better because I didn't mind if they weren't posable.
Mm-hmm.
So Muscle was my number one. I still have a whole jar of Muscle.
Oh, Muscle was great.
M-U-S-C-L-E. NES game wasn't too bad, and the GameCube games are amazing. So that kind of helped. I loved the Battle Beasts because they were just elementals.
I still have a bunch of those. They're tied to Transformers, actually.
And the commercials were always funny because all they did was yell at each other saying, like, Earth beats fire, and like, water beats fire. And I was like, commercial, they're just telling each other their weaknesses. And I was like, this is fun. But as for like what I wanted, I didn't really have much because, I wish as a kid that the Nintendo toys were more available because, other than McDonald's meals, you really didn't get any. And the ones you did get were like, thermoses and stuff. They weren't, or like they were those stickers with gum in it and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not what I want. And I didn't even know those existed as a kid because many people didn't just have those just laying around and stuff like that. It was mostly for me. It was just the Legos and then all of it based on cartoons. And I was just now seeing video game figures finally come out. I was just like, okay, now it's the other way around. Now that I have all the money and none of the time, and it doesn't look right for me to go like boom, zow, bop with two figures. I was like, yeah. Now they just get displayed.
Fair enough. Question for you on that one though. With you said you liked Muscle. Did you ever collect or see the Monster in My Pocket figures that were very much like that?
Yeah. I even played the NES game.
That was a good game. But the actual the little figures, I had a ton of those because I used to get them at 7-Eleven as a kid. So.
But yeah, I didn't have like a 7-Eleven near me for quite some time on the East Coast. So that like a lot of cartoons I weren't exposed to until they came to the Nintendo Entertainment System.
What part of the East Coast were you on?
Long Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was in Virginia Beach and they did have a lot of 7-Elevens there.
Other than that, yeah, they didn't have too much what I wanted, and all the commercials were always focused on cars that could drive up the ceiling or could go across like terrain. And I'm like, I don't want to go outside. The sun's out there.
Mario 3 taught me the sun wants to kill me.
Exactly.
Oh man. All right, Chris, what about you?
Well, I never actually owned complete sets of toys.
Well, I didn't expect
Which-
complete sets. I'm just saying, which ones did you like? What series did you like? Things like that.
Well, that's what I mean. I always wanted the complete set of what I never had. I wanted all 4 Ghostbusters, which I never had. I wanted all 4 Turtles, which I never had. The worst was 4 out of 5 pieces of Voltron. That
Oh.
sucked. So yes,
I could see it if you were missing like an arm. The worst one would be if you're missing the Black Lion because it just kills any chance.
Yeah, guess what I missed?
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, when you get most of your toys from garage sales as a kid,
Hey,
you
so
tend
did
not
I.
to get everything.
Yeah, that's true.
How did the big question go today? We've unlocked Chris's childhood traumas. Like,
Oh,
This
man.
got more serious than I thought it would.
Childhood dramas have you faced?
Let's not get
It's
into that conversation.
They're really cool. You know, the die-cast Voltron toys were really neat.
They were the best.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
And surprisingly sharp. But, you know, they were very cool regardless. So I think if I ever found a complete Voltron set, I'd probably get it even now. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and because I had older brothers who had their toys,
Hmm.
I just inherited that. That's how I got my Legos. That's how I got my Lincoln Logs that I played with. I think I was Tinker Toys and stuff like that because I liked making things that could roll around and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a toy set I remember called Connects. That's what I used to use, or Constructs. They were like these gray, like almost like steel beam type things. They're plastic. You could snap them together, little blue connectors and things, and make all kinds of craziness.
And I absolutely despised Lego Technic. I hated it.
I like them for programming and design, but yeah, they were a pain in the ass.
Because as a kid, I was like, this is way too complicated, and it just drove me to hate Bionicle when it came out.
Chase, what about you?
I actually had Connects when I was a kid. Speaking of
Nice.
Connects, but those were fun. But toy lines, actually, I hate these questions. But
It's Tuesday.
shut up. But
In his defense, I
had-
didn't put the question up until today, but
Okay, fine.
But I had, like, when I was a kid, I had GI Joe. Like, always thought that was kind of cool.
the
What
3-inch
else
line,
did I
I'm
have?
guessing.
No, the taller set,
Really?
opposable figures.
Oh wow, that was like the late '60s. Well, I guess they re-released them a little bit later on.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember those.
Let's see, trying to think of what else. I had a lot of like the Power Rangers. Got a lot of Power Rangers stuff when I was a kid. I was a big Power Rangers fan, so I had like a lot of the like Megazords and stuff, which I thought were pretty
Nice.
cool. And then I had like the Power Rangers. I think I even had like a toy from the Power Rangers knockoff, like the Beetleborg series. I think I had a toy from them, which I thought was like really
It's all
random.
Saban.
Yeah. And then what else did I have? Trying to think of what else off the top of my head. I guess can't really think of anything else that really like speaks to me right out the gate, but yeah.
I didn't play much as a child.
Well, yeah,
He
it's
was
just
too
like,
serious. I had my guns.
I played a
no,
lot of video games, so there wasn't much room for toys.
yeah, that's a kind of like once I started getting into gaming, because like, you know, I had like a SNES and an N64 and then a PlayStation 1, then a PlayStation 2. I kind of didn't really play with toys all that much once I started getting into it.
Commodore 64 embellished my childhood.
Actually, Swan just reminded me of Bionicle. I had Bionicle when I was a kid. So I was like, oh,
That's why I like mechs. Ugh.
I even watched like the stupid movie that they released with like,
Oh god,
like
so many games and other things too with that.
I'm like, where's all this backstory? Who the fuck came up with this?
I'm honestly surprised they did not try and bring back part of Bionicle in like Lego Dimensions. Like just make a little Bionicle guy to go with Lego Dimensions.
Yeah, they let that die hard. Like they've let it.
It was
die,
so good and just went away.
and then they just said no more. We're putting this genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, it had so much potential. That and Disney Infinity, they just killed them both. All right, so I was thinking about this one originally and looking like, obviously a lot of the toys I had as a kid, you know, with Transformers, M.A.S.K, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, things like that. But some of the ones that are a little more obscure that I liked is there was a series called Starcom, the U.S. Space Force. This was a 1-season cartoon that was made in conjunction with NASA. But what I loved was all the vehicles and everything actually had mechanics where you could hit a button and like they would unfold or open up or expand and do things. They had magnets on them, so they would dock to things. So like I'd be playing like I'm in space on at the fridge and just like dock it to the fridge. The figures were smaller, about that big, but they had like big magnetic feet, so they could stick to things as well, or parts of the ship, and you could kind of merge them together. I see them on occasion. They're still a little hard to find, but that was a series I absolutely loved. Another one was one called Sky Commanders, which used to be able to put up zip lines and then just kind of fling them and they'd go flying across. This was the 80s, so they were pointed in the front, which was just begging to hit a sibling in the face.
Like the Sky Dancers being the whirling blades of death.
Right. Thankfully, I did not have a sibling at this time, so I could not hit a child in the face yet. I was at least safe from that one at the moment. But I do remember those. Some of the weird ones were Barnyard Commandos and Food Fighters, which is technically two different series, but they're very similar, where they're kind of like immovable plastic figures. Like one of them is like different, literally barnyard animals, like a sheep that's got like a Rambo, scarf on his head, and other little animals and things, and they have different vehicles so they could fight each other. And there was a kid that lived near my grandma's that had these, and we would go play. He had Food Fighters, which are different foods, very similar idea, but all their vehicles, like there was a battle vehicle that was basically just an egg carton, different weird things like that. I just remember them because they're so fucking weird. If those ever come back, we have strayed too far. Like those should never come back. And then lastly, I don't know if anyone else remembers these, is one's called Dino Riders. And I had a couple of them, but there was always the big ones that all the kids wanted. So these were like different dinosaurs that had like weapon platforms and other stuff that you could like mount on them that people could drive. So you're basically driving a dinosaur. The big one that everybody wanted was the T-Rex from the bad guys, because it could actually walk, or the big Brontosaurus from the good guys, because that one was just freaking huge. I had much smaller ones for different ones, but I always remember those because it was my love of dinosaurs at that age, and mechs and robots, because they could just have these suits and things on them to be able to do stuff. So yeah, those were some of my favorite little ones there. So so yeah, I think that's pretty much enough for tonight. This has been a hell of an interesting show. We've gone from a lot of darker debate all the way to talking about toys and things. So yeah. All right. Well, you can find the podcast in audio form wherever you listen to your shows, as well as the video version over at our YouTube channel, Zenspath COM. Both can easily be found over on zenspath.com/podcast as well. Leave us a review if you can to help us grow. Like and share the show with others. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Tell us how you feel about the show. Maybe answer the big question yourself. What were the toy lines that you remember playing with as a kid or wanted to play with but couldn't get? You can also talk to us directly over on our Discord. It's the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings, with the link for that being bit.ly/Zenspath Discord. Or once again, you can go over to zenspath.com, find, our latest video episodes, the audio episodes, our shorts. It's got the link for the Discord and other things, plus articles that I write on occasion and other fun little things there as well. All right. I've been your host, Jeremy Powers. This has been episode 81 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. And we're out. Peace.
Where's Donatello?
Yeah, where is Donatello?